This is 1865. Welcome to the Group of Death. Hello, it's another visit to the Group of Death with your friends at 1865. It's Rich here, sitting in for Baz. Thank you very much for joining us throughout this World Cup. And we are recording on Thursday the 25th of June, which, as the more observant of you may have noticed, is just a couple of days after England played Ghana and the day after Scotland played Brazil. And we'll be focusing on both of those matches in this particular episode. I'm joined by Matt. Hello there.
Hello.
And
I'll be. Also, I was just going to say, if you see this, it's super hot outside, so I'll be eating a cornetto throughout. So.
How many?
Oh, well, I've got an infinite supply in my freezer, believe me.
I thought you'd have just one cornetto.
Oh, it's a knockoff anyway, so if that joke doesn't count, you can't.
Oh, okay. Okay, and if you think things couldn't get any worse, well, let's hope that Jeremy Davis makes things better. How are you doing, Jezza?
I'm doing very well indeed, thank you, Rish. Although I'm to echo what the BBC said at halftime, I think we're going to struggle to get a whole first half's worth of content out of that England-Ghana match.
Well, we'll do our best because this is the first half of the podcast, isn't it? So let's start with you then, Jeremy. Can you sum up that England performance in a sentence?
Nostalgic. Made me nostalgic for tournaments past.
Yeah, or nostalgic as in it's eerily reminiscent of things that we've seen from England in tournaments past as well. I mean, so let's go into that in a bit more kind of substance. Was it England's impotence, or was it just the fact that Ghana were playing this 4-5-1 low block parking the bus football?
Well, that was the main thing. I mean, 77% possession. That's, Manchester City level dominance, isn't it? So that tells its own story. But I think the thing that's really amused me is that every single pundit, commentator I heard reacting to the game prefaced their response with, "I don't want to talk about the players that aren't here," and then proceeded to talk about the players that weren't there and how. To be fair, everyone obviously mentioned Palmer, mentioned who's the other guy? Oh, Foden. Phil McNulty on the BBC, to give him his due, to give him credit. The first name he went to was Morgan Gibbs-White. So that pleased me very much. And a few people have mentioned Adam Wharton. So cycling through all possible midfield options for England that would definitely have made a difference in that match. I'm not really sure.
Matt, I'm going to come to you on this one because during the match, I turned to Mrs. Ferraro and I said, this is exactly the kind of match that Morgan Gibbs-White be good at. The idea of him receiving the ball in the kind of between the between the sort of middle and attacking third of the pitch, getting on the half turn, trying to find a little bit of space and trying to find someone ahead of him. And we've talked about how for much of his Forest career, Morgan's football has been typified by being overly generous, where he wants to pass it rather than shoot. But I immediately thought of him, and actually the Wharton call is actually a good one as well, because from a deeper position, he's able to prompt and find those threaded balls, which were all the things that England were failing to do against Ghana, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's you need someone like him. You need someone with a bit of magic there who can actually cut through. But we knew we were going to get a low block. We knew exactly how the game was, and instead you got this horribly proddy sort of pass back football, not really getting anywhere. And then when Ghana broke out, they looked terrified and they looked unprepared, and it was just I don't know. It was the worst excess of the Gareth Southgate years, I think. There, but this pass back to Pickford sort of thing, and you just didn't have any spark there. There wasn't. I don't see Harry Kane touch the ball for. I can't. Well, I mean,
not in the Ghana half anyway. In the England half,
yeah. It was better there, but it was just like it felt impotent. It felt like there wasn't any spark in there, and you need a playmaker like.
I heard a great phrase to describe what happened, and this typifies a lot of not just at national level, but you could say it about Southgate in the last Euros. You could say it about Tuchel's team in this match. Horseshoe football. You go up and then you come back down, back to the defenders, across the back four, back up the other wing. But it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't. There's no making it into a circle. No squaring of the circle.
It's like Liverpool retreat. And then when there is shots up or it just lacked anything. It felt like a game which it's a tournament game, to be fair. This isn't a knockout stage. This is one which we can afford to draw. A point is enough. Tuchel's probably pragmatically not resting exactly, but not actually really forcing them into that. So maybe it was, tournament management more than anything. But all the same, it's not nice to watch. It's not, there was a little terrifying. Look, I'm a Scotland fan, but I do like England. So for the sake of my children who are England fans. But so there's no Schadenfreude here. But there was this sense of it was just not a pleasant match. You just thought if they did break and they did score, if Ghana did break and did score, then where would England be? Suddenly massive throw up of tactics, massive change of tactics, and then we go and concede 2 more. So,
which is a theme we might come back to in part 2 of this podcast. Yeah. But Jeremy, to come to you, so 2 things that occur to me from what Matt's just said. Number one, well, actually, and from what you said earlier, 77% possession, but without getting a result. Well, that's any team who played Nuno's Forest for about a third of a season. Mm-hmm. So, you can't, like, when it's the other way round and we were Forest supporters going, well, we've only had less than 30% possession, but we've got the result. Hey, we're going, that's amazing. So you can't blame Ghana, can you? They've done what they need to do to get a point.
Oh, absolutely not. And, the other thing that made me feel nostalgic was looking at Ghana's penalty shout, which could very easily have given them those 3 points to make it an exact replica of a Nuno Forest performance. But Conce's challenge for me made me reminiscent of nostalgia for Street Fighter 2. I'm sure that was one of Chun-Li's special moves, the whole 2 feet off the floor flying through.
I mean, so let's come back to that in a second. What about the earlier one where Pickford collided? And I have to say, so Darren Cann, I think it was. No, sorry, it was Graham Scott on The Athletic. He wrote that a free kick to England was the least of all likely eventualities from that. And that's exactly what the referee gave.
Yeah, well, I think it comes back to how VAR is being used differently in the tournament, which is, I don't know all the ins and outs, but it seems to me a good thing because I don't want, those massive delays in the ground while someone in some broom cupboard somewhere is picking over the minutiae of a slow motion replay. It was outside the box, I believe. It definitely, in retrospect or on replay, looked very much like a foul the other way. But I can see why the ref didn't see it. And to be fair, the Ghana player didn't make too much of it, did he?
Well, yeah. I mean, I can see why the ref gave it the way he did, because to the ref's eye, I think, thinking about the angle he was at, it looked like the Ghana player dived in a little bit. And I suspect that's what the ref saw. And again, I agree with you. I don't think that meets the threshold for VAR. But coming to the penalty incident, you can't understand why VAR is, if a potential penalty, and you could argue potentially a red card using the law of denial of a goal scoring opportunity where you're not attempting to play the ball, you could argue that definitely meets the threshold for the video assistant referee to have a look at it and say to the ref, come over here, you might want to have a look at this.
So I'm just having a hydration break. But yeah, I think Ghana have definitely got grounds to feel a little bit hard done by, if not cheated, by the refereeing in that match. And I think England got away with one.
I mean, Matt, to me, it just felt like a match where, to be honest, the referee didn't feel it felt like he was trying to do things too much by the book, and he wasn't allowing for, the natural ebb and flow of football, and the hydration break farce in both halves probably typifies that, doesn't it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I know we're not going to go to Scotland yet, but a similar situation, to be absolutely honest, with Brazil's, second goal yesterday, Vinny Junior's second goal, and how that was disallowed. But there is that feel, that was, it was by the book, it did. Would you have let that go away? Would you have let that go in under any other circumstances? Absolutely. I mean, the referee didn't even spot it first time; it was in his ear. Then he just allowed it straight away. But if I was Ghana, I would have been livid. But I was surprised. You said earlier about Ghana didn't seem to actually make a big fuss of it at the time. I mean, I was making a fuss of it. So if I wasn't on the pitch, I'm not a Ghana fan. So I was clearly thought it was a penalty, but not a penalty. So at least a free kick and at least a yellow card. But football's football, and
okay. So on that topic then, Matt, and I'm going to put a very big topic and ask you to come up with a very short answer. Do you think the officiating in this tournament has, by and large, favoured the big teams?
Yes.
I think so. Jeremy?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a number of incidents that you could point to. You could say 'twas ever thus. I'm sure if we went through previous World Cups, in detail.
Never mind that. Last night, the commentators talking about how many goals Mateus Cunha scored for Man United last season. I was thinking, well, one of them shouldn't have counted.
That's a good point.
Okay, absolutely. So to the other thing that I just want to talk about with regard to the England match is, of course, Nico O'Reilly was the one who came closest to scoring. He hit the bar with a header. It took England until the last few minutes to find some urgency, and they made a whole host of changes. The thing with the changes is I felt that O'Reilly probably should have started at left back because he is more of a left back than Jed Spence. I also think he's more of an international class footballer than Jed Spence, but that's a whole other discussion for another time. And I would also say that I thought that the introduction of Morgan Rogers was the thing that introduced that urgency, bearing in mind it was the change that Tuchel made that threatened to break out of that horseshoe football. And it just shows, again, that actually should he have picked more different profiles of midfielders or attacking players in his squad. So any performances that you thought were stinkers or any that you thought stood out for good reasons, Jeremy?
Well, there's been a lot of talk about Anthony Gordon, and it says a lot about modern football that it's that controversial to suggest you might have a right winger playing, right-footed player playing on the right wing and a left footer on the left. And you saw the drawbacks of, and not everyone's Arjen Robben. And you saw the drawbacks of having...
Or Joe Lolly.
Very true. No, you're quite right for pulling me up on that one. But you saw that, or indeed Callum Hudson-Odoi.
Not even Callum Hudson-Odoi is Callum Hudson-Odoi most of the time.
But to be fair, it's easy to get slightly irritated by Wayne Rooney going on about getting crosses into the box, and Alan Shearer going on about getting crosses into the box, and thinking, well, haven't we evolved a bit beyond that?
And Sean Dyche going on about getting crosses into the box.
Well, precisely. But then you come back to that 77 possession stat, which is definitely not, I don't think, something you'd associate with Sean Dyche. And you can kind of see that point. And I think it was Madueke had a couple of occasions when he was on the wing and cut back onto his left, and the chance was gone because there was too many numbers at the far post. So Gordon clearly hasn't, for whatever reason, pulled up any trees yet. I mean, I know I'm coming out with these references, like a Daily Telegraph journalist going out these 90s callbacks, but it does remind me a little bit of the John Barnes in 1990 and what's, so yeah, I was expecting more from Bellingham. I think, I don't think I'm the first to say that either.
In fairness, even Jude said it. He said in the post-match interview, I don't know why I got player of the match. I thought it should have gone to one of the Ghana players. Which is a rare moment of humility from him.
Good for him. Yeah, absolutely. And you have to, the Kane miss was obviously, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big one for conspiracy theories, but he has previously said that he wants to end up kicking field goals in the NFL. So maybe he's sneakily, putting in an early site application for that job. But for whatever reason, you would have expected him to put that one away.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go back to something I've said on many occasions, talking about Forest as much as about anything else, which is that I won't criticise strikers for missing as long as they're in the right place at the right time. And he was in, like, that was, as we said earlier, he was about one of the few touches he had in the opposition half. So there. Okay, we're going to move on. And after the break, we'll talk a bit about Scotland versus Brazil. This is 1865. Welcome to the Group of Death. Welcome back to the Group of Death. It's me, Rich, and I'm here with Jeremy and with Matt. And Matt, coming to you as our Scotland correspondent. What were your expectations before last night's match, and what were your feelings at full time?
Well, whatever from Scotland, your expectations are it's a perpetual dreamer, isn't it? It's a perpetual hope about something. When something like when we qualified via Denmark and stuff, you do think it can happen, and then you get a big dose of reality. So yeah, I mean they knew, they were pragmatic enough to actually know that they were going to lose. Well, they would have played easily for a point there, but they knew they were going to have to absorb a lot. So, but the only problem is, if you're going to put up a defensive setup, defend, and they didn't. The mistakes were embarrassing. I mean, the second goal, I know the second goal that was disallowed. It was such an awful sort of thing. They were so let off by the fact that that was disallowed, because it was terrible awareness. Like, you've got Vinny Jr. bearing down on you, and you're faffing around with the ball. What gives? So, if, however, you had said, I don't know, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, that Scotland would have, managed to not hemorrhage too many goals playing Brazil, and now stood a 25% chance of qualifying to the next round, you probably would have taken that. So, in a way, they've matched previous experience of the World Cup. At least they've got this far and they've won a match. But then you've got to look at the fact that yesterday they were flat. They was unimaginative. Made England looked attractive.
Well, I feel it's a very Scottish trait to go into a tournament and then turn up when everything's already beyond you, because of course McTominay had 2 or 3 chances. Actually forced a couple of good saves from Alisson as well. Yeah. So
you'd played the next 10 minutes and we might have reduced that deficit a little bit more, but it was not the most. I mean, I stayed up for it, and and it was an extremely hot night. I was very tired, and but it's just there's we was watching the Haiti Morocco match and the scores coming in there, and then you saw Haiti twice take the lead, and you thought, oh geez, this is I'd said to my son beforehand, he said, what if Haiti win against beat Morocco? I went, Haiti will not beat Morocco, and then I could see that in the sort of coming through like that. So Haiti have actually outscored them in this tournament as well now. So now we're in a position of again, exceptional pragmatic waiting. Really, this is a feeling familiar to all Forest fans. Of you're not really hoping what you can do. You can't do anything. You're waiting for someone else to be worse than you. This is the last season, the 2 seasons before that, and they do have a chance. Again, I think it was being talked about yesterday. It went down from 70% to 50% to 25% and stuff. They've got to rely on Ecuador even not losing against Germany. Ecuador not beating Germany even. And Germany will rotate their squad inevitably, give a bit of rest. There's a chance that Ecuador could get some there. Cape Verde normally wouldn't even bother thinking about them. But they're doing really well. They're another one of the shocks. You've got Belgium. Belgium not beating New Zealand. Chris Wood has to come to Scotland's rescue here. And who we got? Senegal and Iraq. So Senegal, again, I can see, out of those, if just two of those win, that's Scotland out the tournament. So it's going to be terrifying. The normal sort of idea of the happy Scots fan watching the match, having a real life and soul. It's flipped, and now it's a terrified Scots fan sitting in front of the TV, biting their nails as Senegal.
Which in many ways feels like the natural order of things. It has to be said.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, World Cups are levelers, aren't they? In that way, you do get found out, and I feel Scotland feels a little bit found out now. I feel that there was a flat squad. There's no imagination. There's been no evolution. It's just that if they do get further, and big if they do get further, well, I can't really see them. I think that's about it.
No. But okay, I'll come back to you in a little while, Matt. But Jeremy, one of the things that Baz has talked about in the Group of Death podcast so far is Forest and ex-Forest players who are turning up in the World Cup. So I texted one of my Scottish friends last night and said, right, so Scotland have got two ex-Forest players in their team and Brazil have got an ex-Forest player on the bench. So I sent a challenge to her and her husband, can you name them? And of course, then Scott McKenna dropped a ricket early on, leading to Vinicius's goal. And then Angus Gunn had actually a very good match as a shot stopper. And he kept the scoreline as respectable as it could be, really. But Jeremy, Angus Gunn did what Scottish keepers tend to do, isn't it? Which is make good saves, and then actually he kind of flapped at thin air for that cross, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think he was getting much protection, was he?
Not at all.
In fairness. But I come back to...
I have to say, I'm not criticising Gunn at all. I thought again, he's probably Scotland's man of the match in a 3-0 defeat. What does that tell you?
Well, to come back to Scott McKenna, I do recall after the promotion season, I think it was Baz saying he really likes Scott McKenna because he does the simple things well. And
oops.
that did come back to me when he was. Again with the old references, it reminded me a little bit. If you cast your mind back to 1990 and the famous Higuita Rick against Cameroon, similar, albeit other way around, defender passing the goal or goalkeeper passing to centre back rather than the other way around.
I believe they just to kind of give a slightly sanitized version. I believe the phrase is "fanny about and find out," and in this case, you could argue that both with McKenna and Jack Hendry for the goal that wasn't, maybe the blame lies with both the players and the manager for trying to do something which isn't the players' strengths. What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, well, again, I was reflecting on 1994, the last USA World Cup, which was the first one with the back pass rule, and I don't think you had any goals like that because players were passing the ball back to the keepers who were just launching it. And I know it's not the done thing, and we all like to see lovely cultured playing out from the back football, but sometimes when you're up against a team that much higher in the rankings than you.
Yeah, I was going to say Scotland aren't going to out football Brazil, are they?
No.
Okay, and Matt, we've talked about McKenna, we've talked about Jack Hendry's mistake, we've talked about the second goal that Vinicius scored, and it has to be said that the third goal by Brazil was actually some nice play, and it shows when you've got that natural ability and just that little bit of class, that kind of Guimarães knew exactly where Cunha was going to be and laid it in front of him so he could just pass it into the net. And then Scotland turned up.
Yeah, I mean, it was very unlucky for Scotland in many ways to actually meet Brazil when Brazil had actually seemed to gel as well, where you haven't really seen Brazil. It's been talked about as extremely not being a vintage vintage squad this World Cup and stuff, but they did come together. They did look like Brazil at that point. But yeah, the latter half of it, you know, I mean, they brought Neymar on. I mean, it almost felt testimonial at that point. It felt like, why not? You know, we're not going to lose this now. But yeah, there were sparks there, but it was a desperate gasps rather than anything else. But you've got to put. I got some perspective afterwards, and I read an article beforehand from, of all places, London Review of Books. I know that's, you know, a big thing for Forest fans to pick up a copy of that. There's a 12-page review of a book about the World Cup, and it gives lots of little anecdotes from the World Cup. And I think the most interesting was 1974, which was the first World Cup I would have been alive in. I cannot remember it. I was 6 months, and where Zaire played Brazil. And it's famous for one incident where Brazil were 3-0 up and got a free kick in the last in 74th minute, I think it was. And as the war was lining up, suddenly one of the Zaire players broke out and kicked the ball miles out, right? And it was seen at the time as this terrible sort of, oh yeah, these African players don't know how to play. You know, they've come to this World Cup, they've been over promoted.
They're hooligans, yeah,
and like look at them just lashing out. The truth of that was terrifying, and it was because at the time Zaire was under the dictator Mobutu, and Mobutu had basically taken control, like Uday Hussein sort of thing, taken control of the squad, and told them if you don't, they'd lost, I think 9-0 against Yugoslavia, then 0-0 with Scotland, of all people, and then they had Brazil, and they were told if you lose by more than 3 goals, you will not see your families again.
Ouch.
So
that's terrifying. And that puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
When you actually see it like that, and then you saw the player run out, and he said it was pure panic. And it's thought, you know, through doing that, obviously they were less zealous about injury time at the time, and it did probably waste a couple of minutes of time, which stopped Brazil from scoring. They didn't concede more than 3, and they lived and saw their family. So when I read that, and then I watched that match, it's like, well, Angus Gunn is going to go home to a nice, you know, he's going to go home. He's going to have his family there in Norwich. They're all going to be friends and stuff. So the perspective was very much fair. It's a great article, by the way, as well. I'd hugely recommend you all rush to WH Smith or whatever it's called now and get yourself a copy.
Jeremy, you know what it's called now, don't you?
T.G. Jones, yes, I think.
Yes. There's a very off-podcast conversation that Jazza and I have been having about this recently. Anyway, just a couple of things. With regard to, let's come back to the Jack Hendry mistake that got VAR'd out of existence. What was quite interesting there is when they BBC punditry, so they went to the studio and said, well, what did you think of that? And they're like, well, it's obviously not a foul. They should just let play on. And I think it was Darren Cann, as the refereeing expert, said, nah, it's nothing. There's a bit of contact, but it's a contact sport. And they go to James McFadden on co-coms, go, no, it's definitely a foul. So it really does depend upon, I think we've all been there, haven't we? The other thing that I want to say as well is thinking about, and there's a circular moment as well, which is, of course, that's Dr. Congo are representing. They've got the right prescription to play in the 2026 World Cup, so a nice bit of circularity with Zaire there from Matt. Yep. And last but not least, to both of you, which squads have got the most Forest or ex-Forest players in them in this World Cup?
Oh, that.
Okay, well, we've already discussed that Scotland have got McKenna and Gunn.
Yeah, I can get 2 there.
Okay. Any others?
Austria's got Switzerland. No.
Go on.
Switzerland.
Give me some. Yeah, so Switzerland have got 1 current and 1 ex-Forest player. Maybe 1 soon-to-be ex-Forest player.
Oh, yeah. Ndoye, yeah.
Dan Ndoye and Remo Freuler.
Freuler, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And both of them have struggled in the Premier League, but as I've said on many occasions, at least their flag's a big plus. Okay, we've got Wood. We've got Wood for New Zealand. We've got we've got a few others here and there. So then the other one, which has been discussed on this podcast so far, Cape Verde. 2 ex-Forest players, Ryan Mendes, no, me neither, who's their captain, and Nuno da Costa, who unfortunately has the worst possible record of a Forest striker by leaving the City ground with a grand total of -1 goals.
So they're doing better than Scotland. So.
Of course, Brazil have got 1 ex-Forest player in Danilo.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Murillo didn't make the cut, obviously, and neither did Igor Jesus. Ivory Coast have got Ibrahim Sangare.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Sweden have got Anthony Elanga.
Yep.
So was anyone else triggered, by the way, by watching him put that one away against Holland? I know they lost 5-1, but I saw him going through and I thought, oh, FA Cup semi-final. Half time.
Yeah.
Open goal. It wasn't an open goal, was it? But yeah, I was hopping.
Yeah.
Hopping mad.
Okay. So 2 points to whichever of you two can just. I'm going to ask you to name a country that's got 2 ex-Forest players in that are competing in this World Cup.
Well,
England.
No. Jezza?
I assume we're not counting Elliot Anderson as an ex-Forest player at this stage.
I'll go with England here.
Oh God, let me think.
Give you a countdown. 5.
Ecuador.
Oh, you are geographically not a million miles away, Matt.
Oh my God, what's
you had your hand
Ecuador.
Up. What were you going to say?
Uruguay. No, it can't be.
No, it's not Uruguay.
I'm trying to think. Paraguay.
Oh. Yes, Paraguay have got Brian Ojeda. Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I do remember Ojeda. I quite like the look of Ojeda, actually. But this was in the championship when we were very much a mid-table championship side at best. And Ramon Sosa.
Oh, blimey, that's some...
Yeah.
How quickly we forget, isn't it?
I know. Well, we've had enough players to, love and leave.
Yeah, but all the same, yeah, I've seen him play. It's
Okay. So if you're watching or listening to this podcast,
got 2 points.
So no, it's a 0-0 draw.
Well, can we just hold it open on the Elliot Anderson thing here, because we it might have been signed, we might not know. So I would have been right with England. So
yeah, but that's still only one Forest connection there. So.
And Speds was only on loan, wasn't he? So
well,
still, I'll take Speds.
Okay, but okay. Let's. What I'm going to urge is that if you're watching or listening this and you can come up with better answers than we can, and invariably you can, because I've put my pundits on the spot for this one, then of course do get in touch with our social media. You can find all of our links at 1865.football. In the meantime, I'm going to say thank you very much to Jeremy, thank you to Matt, and thank you for joining us for this episode of The Group of Death. We'll be back in another few days with another roundup from the 2026 World Cup. Down with Infantino, down with Trump, down with hydration breaks. Peace out.